So welcome to Daily Shot Media. First, I want to thank you on National Nurses Day for your service and all you do for your community. And I urge everybody who has a nurse in their life to reach out and thank them today. What you guys have gone through, what you've been doing is amazing. So first, thank you for all you do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Alyssa, you're in the city, so you've been at really the epicenter of all this. Like, if you can kind of paint a picture for us day to day, what does it look like right now in your situation?
So I work in the emergency department, so you can imagine on a normal day it's really busy. But now since the pandemic has, really hit us hard, what I see every day is really crazy. I walk into work and we have tons of people in respiratory distress, fevers. This is ranging from as young as the other day I had a 1-year-old up until a 102-year-old. These people are so sick they can't breathe on their own. We're intubating them, putting them on tons of medications. They end up on these machines for 3 weeks, and unfortunately, most of them end up passing away.
That's terrible. What is your how full are you guys right now, percentage-wise? Are you packed? Are you overflow? Are you starting to slow down a little bit?
So right now we're starting to slow down. We've actually closed a few of our ICUs. We have, I think, 3 ICUs open, probably about 50 ICU patients. And then we have regular COVID units that are in ICU, and those are probably maybe 100 beds.
Wow. So one of the things
still crowded, but not like what it was.
Yeah. Well, one of the things Cuomo has talked about in the reopening plan is getting to 70% occupancy. And here in Albany, there's been kind of some pushback as to whether that's attainable. Where do you guys usually run? Are you close to that 70? Are you above that 70?
On a normal basis, we're usually above the 70. Right now, I think we're below. We've created units to make sure that we have enough space. So we created an actual entire hospital that they built right next door to the hospital I currently work at. So we have, I think it's about a 25-bed unit. And then we like the PACU and endoscopy, all these units that usually don't hold patients, we've created them to take care of our sick patients. So we've created our own ICUs.
So if you guys were to go to elective, is that a possibility for you at this point, or are you still a ways away from that?
What did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
That's okay. If you guys were to go to elective surgeries, because right now in New York you can't do elective surgeries, how would that impact your hospital?
We actually opened up.
Oh, you did?
We opened up elective surgeries.
That's awesome. How has that been so far?
It's actually only been 2 days. So we have a certain wing of our hospital that we created to be like a clean unit. So it's completely blocked off from any COVID interaction. All the nurses, the staff over there only interacts with clean patients. And so far it's been good. I think it's only like 10 patients a day they're allowing in. So it's really minimal compared to what we're used to. I would imagine the hospital's losing a lot of money.
516-387-1866 is a telephone number here if you have a question for a nurse, or you want to say thank you, frankly, to a nurse who's on the front line dealing with the coronavirus, and that's our friend Alyssa, who is in New York. Cam, go ahead. I know you got something.
I just wanted to, if you could take us through like your daily day. What happens every day for you? Like when you get to work, is it just pandemonium? Is it starting to slow down a little bit? I know you said it was slowing down, but like in the early days, was it just out of control?
So the early days, it was definitely chaotic. Luckily, my emergency room is sort of split up into different areas. More than likely, I'm usually working in our trauma critical area. So on a typical COVID day, I would come in, and some of the sickest patients would just be brought in. And during this time where it was pretty wild, we would have 10 patients at a time. Now, when we're intubating these patients, we need to use the proper precautions, proper rooms that are able to suction the air out into the environment and not into, the rest of the hospital. It was kind of chaotic, but we really were able to change our ways kind of quickly and take control of it. We would split up, only one nurse per patient, kind of working out of our scope, doing a lot of the stuff the doctors would do.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely has slowed down.
How many hours a day were you working?
I work 12 hours a day.
Oof.
What's the situation, Alyssa, in terms of how is it strange for you to sort of be at work for 12 hours and then go back out into the sort of regular world? Do you feel like it's this kind of two lives that you're living here, or are you never really able to step away from it?
I try my best to sort of live two lives. I go to work, I deal with it all there, but then I sort of mentally compartmentalize and go home and try to be normal. Like, I try not to tell my parents too much or my family because it worries them. I try my best not to take my work home with me, but during these times it's kind of hard.
Yeah, no, I think what you're talking. It's incredible here that we have a nurse who's on the front line who's dealt with some of the worst pandemic issues, and you're so calm, cool, and collected about it. So that's impressive.
Thank you.
What does your job look like moving forward? Are you guys preparing for it to slow down? Are you preparing for it to get worse? What's kind of the outlook in the professional world for you?
We're sort of preparing for it to get worse in September. So we're actually trying to stockpile PPE, prepare for the flu and COVID to come back stronger in September. That's what the doctors and the research is saying. It's going to get worse. I think we'll have a little bit of a lull over the summer, but it's definitely going to come back worse.
Do you think that lull's going to let people go outside, not social distance anymore, start going out to bars and restaurants, and then it's just going to explode and you're going to have to do this all over again?
I do. I think that's going to happen.
So should we all be wearing masks?
I think we should all be wearing masks. Definitely wear masks. Wash your hands. Social distance.
Do you think a tank should come to a bar?
Is it safe going to a bar?
No, should
Not
a tank
the same
come
way
to
we
a bar
went to a bar
and shut
before.
it down?
So, Alyssa, just for context here, one of us out of the three of us has been anti-mask until today.
Today?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Barry went out for the first time in a hardware store and wore a mask. So everybody congratulate Barry for putting his big boy pants on for a day.
Wait. So for context, everybody was anti-mask until about a week ago, including the World Health Organization and the CDC. And then within the last 7 to 14 days, we all decided that we should cut up our old T-shirts and wear them out walking down the street. Now, to be clear, I did put on a mask. I wrote "End the Shutdown" on it, by the way, in Sharpie, just so I could make my point. I wore a mask inside because I respect the people who run businesses. They got a right to decide if you want to let people with no shoes or pants or a mask in. I respect that. I'm not going to wear a mask walking down the street outdoors. I just don't believe that is going to be helpful to anybody walking down the street. It's different if you're in close proximity. You're on a bus, which I will not be on a bus either, by the way. But I respect the right that a business owner or somebody's home has got to say, I want you to wear a mask. I just don't want to. I'm not going to wear one walking down the sidewalk.
Alyssa, should Barry wear a mask walking down the sidewalk?
So I have 2 points to make here. I can agree with you if you're walking by yourself, not passing anybody, not going into a store. That's okay.
I don't pass too many people.
I agree with you. You don't have to wear the mask. But my second point is we're living through history right now. We're living through the next measles, the next polio, all these things that we take our vaccines for when we're kids. COVID-19 is going to be the next one of those. So right now, the reason why the World Health Organization and all of these people don't know what's going on is because this is brand new to us. This is something we've never lived through before. So wearing a mask not only protects yourself, it protects someone else. If you come in contact with another young person that's seemingly healthy, but then they go home and they're in contact with the elderly or their parents, that's who you have to worry about. It's not really so much you're worrying about yourself getting sick, but it's other people that you come in contact with, not just yourself.
Yeah, there you go, Barry.
Way to be selfish.
Listen,
it's all about you.
I hear you, Alyssa. I the thing about this is I'm very vocal, obviously, and I don't want to be seen as somebody. I'm not saying I don't believe that this virus is a hoax. I don't think it's a nothing burger. I understand the very critical nature of the situation that we're in as a result of the virus. The problem that I think we have 8 weeks in now is that at some point we have to pivot from a policy perspective, and I think we have to understand the people who are at risk to a bad outcome with this virus. We've got to protect those people. As you say, we've got to respect them. We've got to not be selfish about it. But there are a lot of people who are not as much at risk, and we've got to find a way to get them back out working, frankly, or there's going to be no money left anywhere by the time we hit the fall and the next surge. So I think part of my issue with the mask is I think everybody agrees that they are, unless you're wearing an N95, they're minimally beneficial. But I think that they're making people who maybe don't need to be as afraid, they're going to make them more inclined to want to hunker down and not get back to producing anything. I think there's a psychological effect that's going to work against us getting society moving again.
Alyssa, not to get into like HIPAA, but what are your patients like, age range, health wise? Would you agree that there's been a specific demo that's targeted in this, or do you think it's more blanketed?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to say. Like, I work on Staten Island, so I have it's like a typical like Italian, Irish, white male society is really where I work. So my patients that are really sick that that are in our ICU, they're between like 50 and 70-year-old obese men who really don't have that many medical problems. Maybe the most is diabetes or COPD, which are risk factors. But I've seen as young as 24 years old with no medical problems in an ICU on a breathing machine dying. So it does range from healthy to not healthy, which is what's scary because nobody really knows why this is happening.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, listen, I can't. Obviously, Alyssa's experiences are very real. I mean, I'm not going to argue with somebody who is. I'm sitting here on my fat ass having a drink doing a radio show. She's out saving lives. The overall numbers outside of one person's sphere of experience tell you that this is skewing much. In Massachusetts, for example, the average age of a hospitalization is 69. The average death is 82. 2% of people have died without comorbidities, but with COVID present. I think there's a broader picture that's emerging. That doesn't. I'm not arguing that, but I would say that we have to use that to somehow inform how we move forward. We got to propel ourselves forward at some point. We can't do this. We can't do this forever. And Staten Island, by the way, out of the 5 boroughs, just so you know, you are in the thick of it. Only the Bronx has a higher rate of hospitalization. Manhattan is the lowest with the rate of hospitalization, but the Bronx and Staten Island have been crushed.
Alyssa, if you had 30 seconds, what would you tell people who are listening? What's your advice to everyone?
My advice would be to, that's a hard one. I guess wash your hands, be smart, wear a face mask when going to the store, wash your groceries, your fruits and vegetables, because I've noticed people are touching them extra at the store. I don't know about you guys. And just follow what the World Health Organization is saying.
All right. Do you think that the social distancing is working? Do you feel like everybody wearing the mask, everybody that's all helping you?
It's helping for sure.
All right, that's all you need to know.
Alyssa, I'm curious. So when we get to like let's say we get to the summer and the hospitalizations decline and things are moving in the direction that they're moving in now, and somebody said, hey, take a week off and go to Vegas or go to Miami, go to South Beach, unwind a little bit. What do you think your temperature is on getting back to sort of normal stuff like that? Would you be comfortable with it, or what factors would you want to see to be comfortable?
That I don't know if I would be comfortable just yet. I had the antibody test done and I was negative. For the amount of exposure I've had, it was kind of shocking. But I think in like a restaurant or I know. If I was going on an airplane, a restaurant, I would want to see. I mean, in a restaurant, you can't wear a face mask. I mean, how are you going to eat or drink? But I think maybe just tables being distanced a little bit from each other. I guess the hygiene, menus being disposable, not reusable, certain things like that. I think at the beach, I would feel comfortable just because you can sort of separate yourself from other people. An airplane, I think, would be pretty disgusting to think about. It's already gross on a normal day.
As a guy who flies a lot, it's gross. Yeah, it's disgusting on a regular day. Now, what do you think about this? Like in terms of the beach, I look at the beach, and people made a big deal about like Duval County in Florida reopen the beaches. I would be very comfortable going to the beach. I wouldn't sit on top of anybody else because I would kill them. But
Right.
if you space out a little bit, you got the breeze blowing and the sunshine. I feel like that's a pretty safe environment. You would be comfortable outdoors, obviously more than indoors.
Yes, I would be comfortable outdoors.
Well, there you go.
All right. So if they get an open air casino in Vegas, you'd be all set then. That's really
As
what
long
you
as
need.
they wipe the machine down.
Now, what do you think people are gonna because I carry like hand sanitizer in my bag, and I'm kind of like I get on the plane and I forget that wipes, so I can't wipe the stuff down, but I wish I could. Do you think that's gonna become more normal? Like people gonna carry this stuff around and sanitize everything?
I think it will be more normal. Yeah, I think I'll see people doing that.
Is there any downside? Is there any concern about all of the sanitization that we're doing? And it's good in terms of killing coronavirus, but is there any concern that it's going to lead to some other stuff from people in the medical community?
You mean as far as like getting sick from the product?
No, not so much the product, but if are we sanitizing ourselves to the point that we're going to be, like some people say, a little bit of dirt is good for you, right?
Lack of immunity, you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, I guess that's true too. I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question, though.
Oh, good one.
Well, that's good. You're a lot smarter than I am. I don't know either. So, Cam, you got something? You look like you're going to say something. No, you got nothing.
I got nothing. Well, I'm just flabbergasted. I mean, I don't think anybody has the answers, no matter what. Barry, you may think you have the right answer. You may hope that your answer is correct. But then you've got 71,000 people who are dead. She's seeing bodies piling up in the hospital. There's no right or wrong. There's maybe a balance, but I don't know if we're smart enough to find it.
Alyssa, you mentioned...
look, I agree with you. I don't think anybody has... Actually, I totally agree with you. I don't think anybody has the answer. I don't have the answers. I'm an idiot. But I don't think that we can afford to just hide in our houses until somebody finds it either. That's the problem.
Alyssa, you mentioned the vaccine. Do you think that once that vaccine is developed, we go back to normal? Do you think December 2019 will be the future, or do you think April 2020 is the future?
The thing with vaccines is I don't know how much I would trust a vaccine that was created in 6 months on a virus that we don't know that much about. Like, I really wouldn't want to be like the first person to get injected with the vaccine. Like, I would be worried about side effects. I would say more towards April 2021. I think the world will reopen, though. I think that things will reopen. They'll go in different phases. People will start to get the antibody test, and as the more people that get it, the more research they're able to have. Like, when I had my antibody test, I signed off that they can use my blood to research, what's going on with this virus. Why didn't I get it, but someone else did? Blood type. They don't know. They really don't know. That's the thing.
I'm very fascinated by this antibody test. Did a lot of people, employees of the hospital, get the test? Did everybody get it?
So I'm part of Northwell Health, and they have their own lab, and basically all of the employees are getting it done. I don't know about like the outside world, what if you guys wanted to get the test done, I don't know how easy it is for you to access it, but majority of the employees at Northwell are getting it done.
Are you hearing any sort of results from that? Does anybody say, "Oh my gosh, a lot more people had it than we thought," or is nobody had it like yourself?
So far with my group of coworkers, we're seeing that if you had symptoms, they're testing positive for the antibodies. But like me, I never had symptoms, that I was exposed, every day. We don't have the antibodies, which I thought maybe I did have the antibodies, like my body was just, strong enough and I didn't have the symptoms, but that's just not the case.
Are you relaxed that you didn't have the antibodies, or does that make you more nervous?
It makes me more nervous.
Do you think that if we get to a point where the antibody test obviously is kind of trailing behind the surveillance testing, if we get to a point where we find out that this virus has proliferated in a way that some studies have indicated it has, Miami was a big study, Boston and Stanford are the three that I can think of off the top of my head. If we find out that this is really proliferate and that the mortality rate is much lower than that sort of 3.5% that was really terrifying back in March, do you think that would that be of comfort to you, or would you be concerned because it's spread as quickly as it has?
I would be concerned that it's spread. Definitely concerned.
Why?
I mean, I already am concerned that it's spread this quickly.
Why do you think Why do you think you haven't had it with somebody who's been exposed to it so much? Do you think your body, you have a certain something in your blood that prevented it, or have you just been extra careful? What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think maybe because I've been extra careful. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not the type of person that's ever really gotten sick. Like, I never have even, like, the common cold. I don't know. Maybe it's something in my blood. I'm not sure.
All right, but you got to be pretty careful. You got your PPE, hand washing. Like, obviously you haven't had PPE problems. You have the appropriate stuff, right, at where you're working?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
luckily has a lot, yeah.
That's good, because I can't imagine. Honestly, I'll tell you, I don't know how some of the people who've had to deal with this, who didn't have the proper supplies. I give them a lot of credit. They got a brass set, because I can't imagine going into your environment with the right stuff. Forget without it.
I know. Yeah, there was a nurse that died in Manhattan, and he was wearing a garbage bag.
Oh.
So we don't know if people are getting it because of those types of reasons, but there were a lot of people that I work with that were positive. But then again, we don't know if they're getting it from the grocery store or they're getting it at work. Right. It's hard to say.
A lot of people in the beginning said that this was no worse than the flu. In your professional opinion, is this far worse than the flu?
Yeah, far worse.
We need to take this really seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take it seriously.
Okay, good.
You're going to start washing your hands?
I'll wear a mask.
I take it. Listen, I take it seriously. The problem that I have, again, is that I think there are a lot of people out there who take this seriously, but don't take a 30% unemployment rate seriously. And both of those things are going to create problems over time if we let them go.
That is true, too.
Alyssa, has your hospital done any cuts? I know in New York, there's been a lot of hospitals doing layoffs and furloughs. Have you guys seen any?
Yes, we've definitely been doing furloughs. Even speech pathologists are furloughed. We don't need them. Patients are intubated. There's no reason for them to be getting assessed by speech and swallow. We've had anybody that works in an office, not in front line of patient care, are furloughed. Even pavilion coordinators that bring the patients inside from the waiting room to the emergency room, they've been furloughed.
Wow.
Do you think now that you're doing elective surgeries, you'll start to see them come back, or is that a longer-term plan?
I think it's a longer-term plan. Right now, I think my hospital is just worried about, like the community. And, I mean, some of these elective surgeries are necessary, like dialysis access and things like that. We're not really doing that much, but it's still necessary for the community. Hip replacements, things like that.
I'm curious, because I've heard from a couple other people. Obviously, you work in the ED, but I've talked to a couple of people, particularly a pediatrician, who said that within his practice, 80% of kids over the last couple of months are missing their well visits and missing vaccinations. Cancer diagnoses are way down. Do you think that we're going to face a little bit of a crisis in terms of other things that need care that people are avoiding, or do you think that people are still getting it? Things are okay?
No, I think definitely things are being missed. Even like some patients I see, they'll come in having chest pain for over a week. And it's scary because they could be having a heart attack and die at home, which is just as serious.
Right.
And it's sad because people are afraid to come to the hospital now because they don't want to get sick. But if they're sick at home and dying, I mean, it's almost worth it to come in.
Yeah, wow, I can't. It's really, this all happened so fast. I mean, that's the thing that blows me away, is that in just a couple of weeks we turn the whole world upside down. It's really, that's hard to adjust to.
How's your schedule been, Alyssa? I know you said you were working 12-hour days. Do you consistently work 12-hour days? Or has your schedule come back a little bit? Personally, how are you feeling?
So I always work 12-hour days. I've been picking up extra shifts just to help out. We also have an emergency response team So basically, I'll go into work. It'll be extra overtime, and I'll respond to any codes in the entire hospital. Anybody that's going into cardiac arrest, anybody in respiratory distress or respiratory failure. So I've been picking up more hours.
And you're still working those hours?
Still.
Wow, that's a long stretch.
Yeah.
God bless
It's
you.
a lot.
Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say for sure, Alyssa, is that I was saying as we were bringing into the show, they did a big flyover in Massachusetts today. I feel like we're constantly seeing, parades particularly in cities that are hard hit, where police, fire, EMS, just local people want to come out, put hearts on their houses, say thank you. Are you and your colleagues feeling that support from the community? Is that message getting into the hospital?
Oh, definitely. The message is like loud and clear. It's really amazing to see, the world come together and the community come together during these difficult times. Even driving to work and seeing like a rainbow on somebody's window, it just cheers me up.
That's good, because I know you guys are. Listen, all debate about policy aside, what you guys are doing in emergency departments is literally God's work. I mean, you guys, and compared to a lot of other places in the world, you're kicking ass and saving a lot of lives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, Alyssa, it's
Thank you,
National
guys.
Nurses Day. Thank you for your time, and do us all a favor. And when you talk to people at work, let them know that we are all out here in awe of what you're doing, and we're completely supportive. Just so much gratitude around the world for what you all are doing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.